Hi, I'm Chili Bin, and this is Raiden. We met on day 2 of our Appalachian Trail thru hike and ended up hiking the whole thing together. Now we're in New Zealand. We just got married and we're off to explore the country together, hiking and tramping using mostly gear I made for us. Subscribe to come along with us as we explore the great outdoors.
Hi guys, Chili Bin here. It's well and truly winter here in New Zealand, and I thought I'd take a moment before I spring into making more gear to reflect on the stuff I made and used over the summer and how it performed under New Zealand conditions. So first up is these packs. You guys never saw a video of me making these ones. These are what I'm calling version 3 of the pack. Version 2 didn't go so well. I'm going to make a bit more of a video when I go into version 4 about what happened to version 2. Version 3, I made 2 packs in one day, the day after Christmas, between finishing making the van and Red and I setting out. So these were put together very quickly, and I am impressed with how they performed over the summer. My one has a little bit of wear around the attachment of the shoulders here, but otherwise it was absolutely great. I have no complaints about it at all. Raiden's pack, once again, performed really well. There was some issues with the harness, still haven't got that quite right, and there were some issues with fraying around these pockets. This one, you can see I stitched it all back together down here, and this one, it's actually just got a big hole in it, so anything that you store in that pocket right now is going to fall out. But otherwise, both of these packs performed great. None of the major seams ripped apart at all. I'm definitely going to make version 4 soon, probably this winter sometime, and they'll be ready to go for next summer, I guess. I guess along the same vein as the packs was the Fanny Pack, and I only got around to making one. I actually bought the materials to make 2, but didn't get time to make the second one before we headed away in the van. So Raiden used this one all summer while I continued to use the one that I wore on the AT. And it performed really well. Its main body has held up really well. Raiden actually went for a swim with our car keys in the front pouch of this, and they didn't get wet, which is great because they're lamb. The one issue I have, you might be able to see here with this webbing. I bought an ultralight webbing from Ripstop by the Roll, and it just squished into a ball. So I'm going to chop this off and sew some better webbing on there for Raiden before we use them again. The next big make your own gear item that we used all summer was the tent. So I made a video of the first version of the tent and I called that a bit of a fail. From that video you know that there was all sorts of issues with it, but it worked for the trip that we took it on. This is the next version of the tent, which once again didn't get a video. I made it very quickly based on the original measurements from the tent rather than the pattern that I made. It turned out great, was fantastic all summer until a weka decided to climb the tent. That was on our Abel Tasman trip fairly recently, and it resulted in me having to put 23 or 24 patches onto the roof of the tent. Very upsetting, but otherwise the tent was absolutely great. There is going to be another version of the tent. I'm going to change the design of it quite substantially. The main things that are going to go on is I'm going to go to a full double wall tent. I think Raiden and I just prefer that a little better. Don't have to worry about any dripping with condensation, especially because we spend a lot of time camping really close to the ocean in New Zealand. And we definitely noticed condensation in this version of the tent. There is some debate, I'm still not sure which way I'm going to go, whether the next version of the tent is membrane sill poly like this one, or whether I bite the bullet and make it out of Dyneema. That is something I'll figure out when I get to it, I guess. As far as floor area for the tent goes, we were really happy with the internal area of this one. It was big enough for 2 of us to comfortably live in, but not too big for the spaces we had available to put it up in. So that was great. So our double sleeping bag. When I made this, we had never slept in a double sleeping bag before, and I am pleased to say that we really love sleeping in the double sleeping bag. This one, combined with the pad straps to hold our 2 pads together and the clips to attach our sleeping bag down to the pad, it all worked fantastically. We stayed really warm all summer long. One thing, I guess, that was an issue with it is it's slightly too short for us. We just need it to be 1 baffle longer, essentially. And we might like a little bit more volume in the foot box. So I'm going to make us a new double quilt. It's going to be a little bit longer, going to have a little bit more space and a little bit more insulation in the foot box, but otherwise it's going to be essentially the same as this guy. And I'm really looking forward to making that. I have in the other room right now the fabric, the down, everything ready to go, and so that's pretty high up on my make your own gear to-do list. Which is also a little bit funny because I said when I played around and stuffed this quilt that I didn't want to work with down again, and here I am. I think I'm on the brink of making a whole bunch more quilts, so that's pretty exciting. Along with making the sleeping bag, I also whipped up a couple of sleeping bag liners. So even though we sleep in a double quilt, we still stay in separate sleeping bag liners, and this just keeps the quilt clean, our sleeping pads clean, and stops sticky limbs from touching each other. I actually got the silk for this at the same time I was buying silk to make my wedding dress, and so it's just a lightweight silk. We tie-dyed them. This one's actually Raven's one with the stripes in it, and it went pretty well. It was a bit thin and didn't like the overlocking, so I would definitely change my method next time, but we really like them and no rips or tears or anything like that in them over the course of the summer, which I consider a win. I guess the last thing I've got to talk about from the summer now is clothing. Starting off with the raincoat, once again, really happy with how it performed. I don't know if you can see it here, but I actually added an extra stripe onto the end of the sleeves. After I made it, I found that the sleeves were just a little bit short, so I added an extra strip on and seam sealed that in place, and haven't had any issues with that. These raincoats in general have been very waterproof, not very breathable, but based on the conditions we've been using them in, that hasn't been an issue for us at all. They have kept us dry in very windy and very wet conditions, so we've been happy with that. We plan on using these through the winter when we do tramping around the Nelson area, so I'll be interested to see how they continue to perform in those conditions as well. I am planning another version of these at some point. I want to change the neckline. I don't like this Velcro here. The sticky side gets caught on things. That's a issue I think I have with the pattern itself rather than the actual construction or anything like that. So I'm going to be changing that at some point, but it's not very high up my priority list. These ones are working great at the moment. I haven't had any durability issues around the shoulders or high wear points or anything like that. Raiden wore a lot more homemade clothing than I did throughout the summer. Pretty much everything he wore, the tights, the shirts, the shorts, was all homemade by me. The biggest one, I guess, for him was that he wore these Merino leggings all the way through a lot of bush bashing. And so if I put my hand in there, I don't know if you'll be able to see. If you can see there, there's a lot of holes. Lots and lots of holes in, lots of holes in these. I have some new fabric to make some more for him. The fact of the matter is that merino is just not very durable when bush bashing. It gets caught on things and tears, but they did hold up all summer without any issues, and he's still wearing these now. The long sleeve merino shirt he was wearing, it looks great. There's no wear on the shoulders at all, and this one doesn't have any holes in it. So we're really happy with how this one held up. For me, my merinos, I've got long sleeve shirt here and long pants. Both of them are in fantastic condition after the summer. I only wear them as a warm layer. I don't wear them when I'm walking around much, so they're mostly worn in the tent or in the huts. So they're not caught on anything at all. This merino long sleeve shirt, I don't like the neckline of it very much, very tight up around my neck. So the next version, whenever that happens to be, will have a more scooped neckline. The tights, no complaints at all. The dress. This dress got a lot of wear over the summer, and I'm actually going to make a whole video about hiking or tramping in dresses because I'm in love so much. I like it, it's great. But we can see from the back of this, definitely worn where the pack was. The front looks like it's in much better condition, and otherwise I think this one was a little bit too short, but otherwise absolutely great. When I wasn't wearing my dress, I just wore shorts and t-shirt, and both of the shorts and t-shirt I wore all summer were actually commercially bought. I was wearing a pair of Nike shorts that I picked up in a hiker box in the 80s somewhere, and a t-shirt from Patagonia. I am going to make new shorts and t-shirt before I go out tramping again. This is on the agenda, and I'm sure I will share that with you when it happens. But it's just something that I've never got around to making, and making shorts and t-shirts is not that exciting for me. But I should do it because I think it will finish off my kit. The last thing I want to touch on clothing wise is my wind pants. I made these wind pants before the PCT. These wind pants have done the PCT, the Appalachian Trail, everything in between those two, and then a full summer in New Zealand. So they have done absolutely fantastic. The biggest issue is, we can see this nice repair through here, maybe. It's probably hard to see, black on black. I ripped a giant hole in them. I've stitched it up with dental floss. They are still going great. Before moving on, I guess it's also worth mentioning this jumper. I'm wearing it right now. It's comfortable, it's warm, it's in great condition, and I really like it. I am going to make another version of it out of a different fabric because this one's a little bit heavy. I've picked up some micro fleece. I'm going to make another fleece, pretty much exactly the same, but micro fleece instead of whatever the sweatshirting is. I guess to round it all off, I think we had a really successful summer using gear that it was almost entirely made by me in my apartment in Canada, and a little bit of it on my parents' dining table in Auckland. We didn't have any catastrophic failures, nothing broke, just some hiccups along the way. As I said, the sleeping bag's slightly too short, the tent has had 20 holes in it. One of those was outside our control, one of them was, and I can improve on both items when I make the next version. So I'm really excited about that. While it's winter here in New Zealand, we will go out tramping, but not quite as much as we do in the summer. I'm hoping to use my weekends to make some more gear, maybe make some gear to sell. I'm hoping that's on the horizon soon. And really perfect that kit so that next summer we can have some more awesome adventures.